that the obstacles have put us in a position where there's a lot of forecasting. So not only are you looking at the medical history, you're looking at the games missed when you're trying to grade their durability. And availability is everything in the National Football League. So it's a real important part of this process. And Tom Reed and our training staff has done an outstanding job, as well as our scouts, taking all the information in and doing the best we can, again, to forecast what type of career he's going to have, whether it's a one contract or potentially a multi-contract career.
Steve, there's been a lot of talk out there about the number of players that are available, that maybe there's fewer this year just because of guys being able to go back to school and all that stuff. Have you found in general that this is just in terms of the sheer pool, a shallower draft, and will that make later rounds more difficult?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the number of players certainly affects this draft. I mean, I think we went into this process with 5,500 reports in total, and 1,800 of those were guys who decided to go back to college. So, again, there's a number of things that continue to create some legwork for us, but I do think the amount of talent at a number of positions is very strong in this draft, and the way our board is stacking up, really excited about next Thursday.
Kliff, when you look at Kyler over the last couple of years, you've seen progress. What are you expecting in year 3 for him based on what you guys have done in the offseason?
I'm hoping we continue that same progress. I think to come in, win Rookie of the Year, and then make a Pro Bowl year 2, and go from 5 wins to 8 wins, you're on the right track. And we still know there's tons of improvement, not only for him, but as an offense and for us as an offensive staff. So we're all really excited about the opportunity, and I know he's feeling good, been training really hard, and excited to get back out there.
Next up, please, Mark, Kevin, and Josh.
Hey guys, thanks for the time today. Question is for Steve. With the 17-game season being announced, how does that affect how you draft and also how you build a team depth-wise?
Well, again, I think that goes back to some of the injuries that incur throughout the season. The fact that your roster does take quite a bit of a beating, and it did on a 16-game scale. So the fact that we have 17, you want to make sure you have a depth at every position, especially the positions up front, offensive and defensive line. I think generally when you look at history, tells you that there's attrition at those positions, and you have to do your best to make sure that those second team guys are available and can step in and start in a pinch.
Hey, Steve, just curious if you could give a rundown of what you think about the receiver class, especially day one, and do you guys feel like even though you have 3 certified good receivers that you can still upgrade there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really deep receiver class, and they all have different traits, especially those guys at the top. They're all different sizes. They have different skill sets, whether they can play X or Z or do some things for you in the return game. A couple of those guys have that skill set. But to me, I think there's probably going to be 5 or 6 guys that could potentially go in the first round. We've already seen that there could be as many as 3 go in the top 15 picks. So they're exciting to watch. And again, there's a lot of guys that they remind me of. Chase at LSU reminds me a little bit of Andre Johnson when he came out at Miami, probably showing my age here, but he was a guy that, had all the traits, size, speed, explosiveness, run after the catch. And then you look at Smith and Waddle, and people question Smith's size, weighing in at 170 pounds. And again, dating myself, I played in a high school all-star game with a guy who weighed about 174 pounds coming out of Syracuse that you might have heard of, named Marvin Harrison. That was a pretty good player. Those guys have similar body types. And then Waddle reminds me a little bit of Steve Smith when he came out of Utah. Squatty, explosive, has the ability to return, can be dynamic in that part of the game as well on 4th down. So, again, those guys at the top, but there's a number of other players. I mean, Bateman, the receiver at Minnesota, the receiver of Florida. I mean, you go down the list. Bateman has tremendous skills running routes, great body control. So, again, the depth at that position is very, very good.
Hey, Steve, I have a historical question for you. 2004 draft, when you're scouting Larry, how many times did you personally see him in person, I guess? And then what were those conversations like leading up to you guys setting the board with him on at top of it?
So when I went to Pitt that year, I think I probably saw him 3 times. The last time, I'll never forget, I took him and a corner there named Shante Spencer to lunch. And we went to a little place on the south side that's called Fatheads. Great sandwiches, and I'll never turn down a good sandwich. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I got to know Larry, and that's where our relationship sort of started. And as we talked about him through the draft process, I'll never forget guys like Eli Manning were coming out, Robert Gallery, which was selected right in front of him. Ben Roethlisberger was in that draft, so there was a ton of talent. But there's no doubt in our minds that Larry was going to be a tremendous pro, and certainly the type of receiver that he turned out to be. And not only was he a great one, he was as good as they get in the community and in our locker room as well.
Next up, please, Catherine, Kyle, and Craig.
This is a little off topic and for either of y'all, but with this being the last week that State Farm Stadium's being used for a vaccine site, I was curious if either of you guys got to get out there and just kind of what it's like seeing a place so well be used for something so different than your typical Sunday.
Cliff, you want me to take that?
You got that one.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yes, I was out there actually, and it starts with our leadership, and that starts with Michael Bidwell, and obviously, the fact that they're using State Farm Stadium for the purpose of good in the community, again, just goes back to show you a lot about our organization and how much we care about our community.
Steve, I was wondering how the absence of the third and the fourth rounders affect your thought process when it comes to possible trade scenarios.
Well, we have Rodney Hudson and DeAndre Hopkins, so I don't know if any of you guys have graded those picks, but I feel very, very good about those spots. Again, and then joking, would love to have the opportunity to select in both of those rounds, particularly whenever you look at the board and you see the type of players that could potentially be there. But again, when you have a guy who is, as good as they come in the league at the center position, and obviously one of the best receivers in the National Football League, you feel pretty good about where you're sitting. So it's disappointing that we don't have those picks, but at the same time, I want to look at the positive.
Hey, for both of you guys, I hate to address the elephant in the room, but what's Larry doing? Is he coming back for an 18th season? Is he done? Has he told you guys what's happening?
Nothing has changed on that front. My communication with Larry has literally consisted of golf, investments, or Phoenix Suns basketball. So like we mentioned before, Larry is going to decide this on his time, and he's one of the greatest players of all time, and so obviously he deserves to have that time.
All right, we'll move next to Richard, Bob, and Jordan.
Yeah, this question is for Coach. Coach, how much of an advantage is your recent experience in college football when it comes to drafting? Because I would imagine you probably recruited or tried to recruit half of the guys that are in this class.
It definitely helps at times, particularly in the Big 12 and in that region, having some familiarity with the recruiting process of those guys, whether they came to Texas Tech or not. You get some insight, you get some background, and then knowing the coaches in that league as well as I do, you feel like you can get some really pertinent information from those guys.
Steve, going back to my first question and the medicals and the kind of roll of the dice this year, do you think, talking to draft analysts at least, they've said that it could make later round picks a lot less worthy than prior years? And with that in mind, would you consider trading up to get a player you really covet, be it a receiver, tight end, or what have you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at our history, and it'll tell you that depending on the way the board falls, I mean, we'll be aggressive one way or the other, whether it's to move up, move back, depending on what plays, how it plays itself out. So there are a number of factors that do go into it that you just mentioned, not only the medical, but the quality of the players that are left in those, back part of those rounds. With some of those guys going back to college, you have to wonder when you start hitting the 6th and 7th round, the type of quality that will be there. So there's a number of factors that play into it, and we'll certainly take a run at being aggressive if we need to come up.
This one's for Steve. Steve, when you look at this draft class, what position groups do you find are more deep than other position groups?
Well, as I said earlier, I've been impressed with a number of the receivers. The outside linebacker class, guys who are generally college defensive ends that project as outside linebackers, which would be our Sam and our Wills. That group has been impressive to me, guys that are going to be able to come in and start at an early point in their career. A lot of the inside linebackers, guys who can play Mike or Mo in our scheme. There are a number of guys who are athletic enough to play Mo and play dime linebacker, or there are guys that can be the Mike for you and play all 3 downs with the cover ability you look for. So those are the positions that really stand out to me. I like some of the guys who are inside players, the guards and the centers. So again, there's enough depth in this draft that gets you excited, even with some of the players going back to college.
Moving along, Darren, Mike, and Cam.
This is for Kliff. Kliff, now that you guys have JJ and with the guys you drafted last year and stuff, kind of how do you see your defensive line right now? Do you feel like it needs to be get any additions, or are you happy with where it stands?
You know, we're always trying to add depth, but with the addition of JJ, the young guys who were drafted last year, signing Jordan Phillips, we really like where it's at, particularly compared to the previous couple of seasons going into this draft. So really excited. I think with Coach Buck and what he brings to the table with those young guys mixed in with some vets who've had a ton of success in this league, it's going to be a great room.
Steve, when you look at the opt-outs, close to 99 guys, and some guys haven't played football since 2019. How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you go back, Mike, and ideally you would love to watch the 2020 tape, but because of the pandemic and the obstacles that were created, we just have to dig deeper and go back and cover the 2019 tape, or even prior to that if a guy had an injury. So we'll do the best we can, and our scouts have done a fantastic job on the road. Those guys don't get enough credit for the amount of information they compile, along with the amount of tape that those guys watch on a regular basis. Our coaches actually even went out a lot this spring. I think they went to close to 50 pro days, which is quite a bit more than normal because we didn't have a combine. So our coverage this spring has been extremely wide. We've casted a wide net, and I feel very, very good about going into this process and the type of information we've accumulated.
Hey, Steve and Kliff, hope everything is going well. Guys, what's the plan for draft day? What do y'all, is it going to be like last year, or y'all have a different plan for this year? And then, Steve, when you turn on the tape of Kyle Pitts, what do you see?
So we will be in the draft room. The NFL has allowed us to be back in our war room, so there'll be a number of us in there, socially distanced. And then as far as Kyle Pitts, tremendous player from outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is unique because he went all the way down to the University of Florida. Spent some time virtually with him, have been extremely impressed. Everything you hear about his character, his commitment to the game, and his passion is extremely high. Then you turn on the tape and you see a guy who can do it all. I mean, he's got rare and unusual height, weight, and speed. He's a real mismatch problem for a number of different positions defensively. And I haven't seen many guys that really possess the skill set that he has.
Next up, Josh, Nick, and Mark.
Hey, Steve, when it comes to Caleb Farley, I guess two-parter, what's your evaluation of him, and how concerning are these recent surgeries?
Like Caleb a lot. Another guy that came in early in his career as a wide receiver. They moved him to corner. Did not have tape from this past year because he opted out. And as far as the medical goes, it's just it's going to be up to our doctors and trainers. You have to lean on those guys and rely on them. And I'll meet with those guys early next week, and we'll address all of those concerns. But as a player, hasn't even scratched the surface yet, but has got tremendous upside and potential. For a guy who is as long as he is, he's got tremendous stop and start ability, and really is probably as sudden in transition as any corner in this draft. So he's got a bright future.
Kliff, I was wondering if you saw the Rams Malibu draft house and whether you felt like that was a response to you from last year, and whether you're disappointed that you're actually going to be in the war room this year and won't get a chance to spruce it up a bit.
Yeah, I really think it's just a ploy by McVay to allow himself the opportunity to take his shirt off again and jump in the pool like he did on Hard Knocks. Probably sip a little rosé, dip in the ocean, and make some draft picks. So I think more than anything, he had that up. So it should be fun to watch.
Oh, I don't know how to top that. But hey, Kliff, do you know when we could see you guys on the field, and if you had any players or any groups of players opt out of OTAs?
Guys are working out on their own, and we're doing virtual meetings right now. So that's the part of the offseason we're in. We became accustomed to it last year, and so we feel like it's actually going smoother than last year. We've made some adjustments to it, and so it's been good to see them on there every day and starting to talk football again.
Next up, please, Colin, Kyle, and Ed.
Hey, Steve, this one's for you. As it relates to Larry, sorry, one more on that front, but if you don't get an answer, is that something you need prior to the draft, and how will an answer one way or another affect, how you guys view a wide receiver this year potentially?
Yeah, I don't. No matter what Larry decides, it does not affect our draft plans. Again, to me, you can't have enough good players at one position. There's guys on 1-year contracts. So again, as far as building your team and the type of depth that you have, you can never have enough good players. And obviously Larry Fitzgerald's a great one, so you wouldn't say no to him either.
Steve, on that team building theme, how much different philosophically do you look at adding guys in free agency compared to the draft, and kind of the balance between short-term needs and long-term needs?
Well, I think philosophically what we've done is we look at free agency as filling and supplying our needs, and then the draft is the best player available. Obviously, if two players are in a similar area and one is a positional need, you'd lean towards that player. But you never want to get in a position where you have your board stacked and you have an 87 or a 90 type player and you pass them up for a positional need, because ultimately your needs are always changing. I've said it many times, your needs in April and May are much different than they are in October and November. So needs are always changing, but you can't have enough good players.
Steve and Kliff, you guys talked about Caleb Farley a few minutes ago. How deep do you think this cornerback class is, and how do you distinguish between the three guys generally perceived to be the top three prospects at that position?
Steve, you got it.
I do think that it's a deep corner draft, and again, what's your pick your poison? These guys are all a little different, whether it's Surtain, Horn, Farley. There are guys that can be nickels, nickel only. To me, the nickel position is getting harder and harder to find. I think at one time that was a secondary thought, but the way these teams are playing schematically in the NFL, the nickel position is as important as ever. And for us to have a guy like Byron Murphy who can play inside and outside, it gives us tremendous value. But there are guys that can play inside and outside in this draft, some guys that can only play outside with their length and their movement skills. So really feel good about that position and the opportunities that may present themselves. But those top three are all very, very good. The first two that I just talked about with Horn and Surtain, the bloodlines that they come from are obviously very, very good, which shows up in their competitiveness, the way they play the game, the way they approach the game, and they've been very, very impressive to evaluate this spring.
We'll close it out with four more, please. Richard and Bob, Howard and Darren.
Yeah, this one is for Steve. Steve, you talked about not having that third and fourth round pick. If things fall into place in the first 15 picks where you have a chance to trade down and maybe get some picks, how enticing would that be to have that option?
It would be very enticing. In fact, if you had to weigh it out, I mean, with 6 picks and where we're sitting, I think it would be more likely to trade back than to trade up. So that's one thing. And then, as far as trading back and accumulating more picks, it's no different than a lottery ticket. The more you have, the better you have a chance to hit. So we know it's an inexact business, and to be able to accumulate more picks would be a real coup for us.
Kliff, this is a quarterback question, so I'm throwing it to you. How much does the anticipated early run on quarterbacks in the top of the draft help teams picking in the middle of the first round like you guys? And could a player you have rated well within your top 10 slide to you at 16 because of that?
Definitely. Yeah, we're hoping they go the top 5 picks because, like you said, it'll push a player that we have rated really highly to us. And so it's going to be interesting. It's a great group. I haven't studied them as thoroughly as I have in the past, but very, very talented young men that all could go in that top 10 to 15 picks.
You guys talked earlier, Steve, you mentioned about needs in free agency. Just because either of you just talk about the most recent additions, I guess, with Malcolm Butler and James Conner, and how glad you were to get them to come to the Cardinals.
I think really, really excited. And I think when you look at the way we bolstered our roster in free agency, you look at guys who were tremendous leaders at their respective organizations, how they've been extremely physical, which again was an area we wanted to improve as a football team. But more than anything, guys that are going to fit into this organization, into the locker room, team first mentality. Those are the things I think that excited Coach and I the most. That a group of guys that are great workers and leaders, not followers.
Kliff, you guys have a lot of different pieces that you're going to be plugging in on offense this year. I'm just curious. Obviously, you haven't had a chance to see them on the field, but do you sense that this offense is going to look different, perform different because of all the different pieces?
I'm just hopeful that we'll take another step. I thought we made big strides at times last year, and I think going into year 3, same system for a lot of these guys. We felt like we made some key additions in some key spots. And then Kyler's mastery of the offense, I think, with the guys I've coached before, I know it was in college, but year 3 is kind of the year where they take total control of it. So with all those things coming together, we just really hope we can take another big step offensively and be one of the offenses that's really hard to stop this season.
Kliff, Steve, thank you. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you
Thank y'all.
a week from tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.